Welcome to the first ever skillsignition Singapore Career Fair. My name is Wiwi, and I will be your host for today. Before we dive in, a big hello as well to our audience who are actually watching us virtually. Thank you for joining us today. We have an exciting program lined up for you today, starting with opening remarks by Country Managing Director for Google Singapore, Ben King, and Minister for Communication and Information, Josephine Teo. We will then have a panel discussion on interviewing and hiring, and this will be followed by hybrid career fair engagements in the afternoon. As we enter into the third year of Skillsignition Singapore, Google remains focused on helping more people to build skills they need for a digital economy. But we are also committed to connecting our learners with jobs. So today, we are launching our first Skillsignition Singapore Career Fair to create an opportunity for learners across our training pathways to interact with members of Google's employer consortium. We hope that learners make meaningful connections that will help them in their job search at the career fair today. Skillsignition Singapore has always been a program built on deep partnerships across public, private, and the nonprofit sector. It takes a whole ecosystem to build a strong talent pipeline for Singapore's digital future, and we are proud of our collective success so far. We are especially excited to our valued government partners, companies, tertiary institutions, and nonprofits who are here with us today. You will be hearing from some of them, including the Minister, our guest of honor for today. Now, without further ado, let's kick off the event with a welcome address by Ben King, Country Managing Director for Google Singapore. Ben, please.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much all for being here with us today. It's a really wonderful day for us here in the Google Singapore office, the first Google for Singapore, and then obviously moving on to the career fair that we're talking about today. I'd first of all really like to especially welcome our guest of honor, Minister for Communications and Information, Mrs. Josephine Teo, incredible partner to us over a long period of time. And we really appreciate you coming and gracing this event with us, but also our partners from IMDA, and then also SSG. Okay, so Singapore, it's one of the world's most robust economies. I think when the pandemic hit in 2020, though, the local economy, it was impacted and the job market became, very, very challenging, not alone, obviously, in that. And in response to that, we launched skillsignitionsg with the help of many of the folks in the front row here, our government partners. And the goal was to offer skills training to boost employability for Singaporeans, but also equip Singaporeans for the long term, equip Singaporeans with the right experience to seize opportunities within technology as the digital economy evolves. Now, reflecting on the progress of the program, we're incredibly proud of where we've come. I was just speaking to Kieran about it in the lift. It began as a very, very quick conversation, actually, at the beginning of the pandemic, and it's evolved into a program whereby we set out to achieve the training of 3,000 Singaporeans, but to date, we've actually been able to train 5,500 Singaporeans since we launched. The 5,500 people, they've learned new digital skills, they've gained on-the-job experiences, and they've earned certificates, with many also finding opportunities for work within global and also local companies. And that includes Google, that includes our own company. Our recent survey showed that 3 out of 4 trainees actually landed within jobs within 6 months of finishing the trainee programs. Now, one really inspiring example, and for those of you who saw the keynote for Google for Singapore, is Ramona. But rather than me talk to her journey, for those who haven't seen the video, I just wanted to stop, pause, share the video, and let her tell her own story.
For 2 years, I was a stay-at-home mom looking after my 2 very young children without my husband as well because he was working overseas. It was so exhausting and I was just always so tired. I love my children to bits, but it was just not the life I had envisioned for myself. So my life before I became a parent, I was actually first a project manager in an oil and gas company. I wanted to go back to having a career and having progression in my life. I had lost so much confidence. I was even applying for roles that required no experience. And that's when I saw that Google actually has upskilling courses for people looking to enter the tech industry. And so I thought, maybe that's what I need. When I first received the offer to be part of the program, I was over the moon because it was 3 months of coursework and then 6 months of on-the-job training in Google. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy. So the technical skills that I picked up from the program was the digital marketing aspect of things, learning how to run digital marketing campaigns, learning how to craft strategic decks to convince people of your ideas. So my 6-month traineeship program at Google, I got the opportunity to work with and learn from Googlers. And the most important thing I felt I learned was how to just be really thick-skinned and buay paise and just pitch yourself to everyone you know, because that's the only way that people will know what you do and offer you a role in Google. And I also managed to work on real-world projects, which actually impacted people that I knew. So it was a very rewarding experience. The Skills Ignition program has just been career enabling. It definitely helped me achieve my goal of moving into the tech sector because I managed to get a full-time role with Google. How amazing is that? So I'm finally in a place where I feel I'm becoming a woman and a mom that I can be proud of and my children can be proud of.
Stories like Ramona's and many others. Ramona is just one of many. They're a timely reminder that we can embrace new opportunities and we can adapt quickly, even in times of some of the most difficulty that we all have faced. For some of us, the most difficulty that we've faced in our lives through the pandemic. And these sorts of stories, they're not just impactful for job seekers. We're incredibly glad to have Ramona in our company working as a program manager. So I think it's incredibly impactful also for employers and companies that partner around this as well. Now, staying true to our mission of empowering Singaporeans today for tomorrow, we've been able to collaborate with the government to ensure that Skills Ignition remains relevant. It was obviously created at the beginning of the pandemic. We're dealing with a very different environment now. Things have evolved, and in line with that, I'd like to share a couple of updates to the program across 3 different areas. First of all, our traineeships. Second, online learning and our career certificate program. And then finally, creating, job opportunities. So first, to create a richer and higher fidelity trainee experience, we're offering an enhanced traineeship program where we're doubling down on 60 individuals who will come into Google next year. This will be open to fresh graduates and also mid-career professionals. It'll be open whereby selected trainees will undergo a 12-month, as I said, full-time training program in digital marketing or cloud architecture. And selected trainees will also receive mentorship from Google employees, a more comprehensive development plan, and then finally higher stipends, which actually align to some of the various different things that we're seeing as it relates to market rates. Now, with the continuous partnership with IMDA and also a range of other industry partners, together we think that we can build a sustainable, long-term program that continues to invest in digital upskilling and also really enhances employability for Singaporeans. Now, calls for applications are now open for next year, and we welcome you all to speak to as many Googlers today as you can find to talk through the opportunities that exist at our career fair. I'd like to now shift to our second update, which is an expansion of Google Career Certificates. So earlier this year, we introduced the certificates program. It was to provide Singaporeans an opportunity to learn and develop new skills in areas of high demand. They included IT support, project management, data analytics, and also user experience and design. So we're expanding that to a 5th track, and that's the evolution I wanted to share with you today. We're announcing that we're moving forward with a 5th track around digital marketing and e-commerce, another area of very significant demand, both in Singapore and across the region. So like the other 4 certificates, trainees can take, learners can take these courses online at their own pace without requiring any prior experience or degree. And finally, I wanted to touch on that creation of the connective tissue between traineeships and graduates and actual real employment outcomes. So beyond building a digital-ready talent pool, we were focused on connecting these graduates and learners with real-time jobs. And as part of that, we developed an employer consortium. So the companies on the screen are the 16 that joined at the outset when we launched this employer consortium. And it was really about connecting companies with our diverse and qualified graduates. It was a really important way that we could help them sort of kickstart their careers with real time work. Now today, we're actually announcing this has more than doubled. I'm incredibly proud of this. This is an ongoing work stream. It's something that we'll continue to invest in and hope to continue to expand. But that consortium has now become 37 companies across various industry sectors. 21 of these companies have joined us today, either virtually or in person, just outside this room. And we just really believe it will help today's career fair will help to create meaningful interaction between job seekers and consortium members. So I'd like to close by expressing our heartfelt gratitude for the generous support that we received from the public sector, but also from the private sector and all of our partners. It's truly been quite a journey to sort of think about where Skills Ignition started and where we are standing today. On behalf of Google, truly, thank you all. And to our graduates and learners here today, I invite you to build connections, to network, to enjoy the various activities that we have with the career fair. And now it is time for me to close. And I'd like to now invite our guest of honour, Minister Josephine Teo, to say a few words, please.
Ben, colleagues from the agencies, graduates, learners, and folks who are joining us online, thank you for having me on this very important occasion where you are for the first time organizing the Skills Ignition Career Fair. I recall that it was just last year I was newly inducted into the Ministry of Communications and Information, and my colleagues had been very excited to ask me to take part in the first graduation that Google was organizing for its Skills Ignition program participants. And it is certainly great to see another wave of graduates ready to embark on new careers. Now, Skills Ignition Singapore was born at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Ben had talked about it. I was at the time in the Ministry of Manpower, together with my colleagues in the WSG, the SSG, and IMDA, and several other agencies. We were all very concerned about the potential scarring, employment scarring, that economists as well as industry practitioners were warning us about. And that is what happens when people are forced to exit work, and because they cannot find anything meaningful to do as a result of the very depressed economic conditions. And we were looking for ways to prevent that from happening in Singapore, to sustain employment, to moderate the risk of unemployment, and more importantly, to try and make sure that people had a way, to keep their skills current and, in fact, against all odds, themselves emerge stronger from the pandemic. And so that as a society, we would all, be better off as a result. It's very difficult to imagine, doing something like that when you are in the thick of fighting a pandemic. But we said we had to try. And I think we were really fortunate to have within the corporate ecosystem in Singapore like-minded partners who saw themselves as having a long-term future in Singapore and having every interest in ensuring that the talent base here did not get eroded and in fact had a chance to be built upon. And so I'm very glad that this is one of the programs that took off in a big way, and it has set us on a different path. It's been often said that talent is both the fuel as well as the beneficiary of Singapore's rapid growth in the digital domain. And of course, as one of the top talent hubs in the world, the high quality of talent is Singapore's comparative advantage. It's powered by our education system that is consistently ranked well when compared to their international counterparts. And digitalization has in turn brought exciting job opportunities to the workforce, allowing Singaporeans to build rewarding careers in high growth areas such as cloud technology, product development, and digital marketing. As with other advanced economies, demand in Singapore for tech talent will very likely continue to outstrip supply. You make statements like this, knowing that it's not always the case that you are right. But I think in this area, I think the chances are pretty high. I'm not the only one saying it. I think lots of people, deep in helping their own businesses and other businesses transform, know this very well. There are already many jobs still waiting to be filled, and the opportunities have every prospect of continuing to grow. Now, just as a sort of just to get a sense of the numbers, numbers are never going to be as compelling as personal stories like what we heard, about Ramona. But just to get a sense of scale, today our digital economy employs about 216,000 ICT professionals. And this, when you compare it to 2016, which was 180,000, that growth has outpaced the whole of the economy's employment growth. And it's not uncommon today, whether you are, in healthcare or whether you are in, retail or in banking, many companies that are thinking strategically about the future profess to be tech companies. They say, we are no longer banks, we're no longer retail, we're no longer healthcare, we're tech. And there is a good reason for that, because so much of what you do is digitalized, and digitally transformed. And that is why government, together with industry partners, has continually invested in developing talent. Our top priority, of course, is to develop a strong and sustainable pipeline of local talent as an anchor for our position as a global talent hub, a point which PM, in his National Day rally speech just 2 days ago, spoke about and continued to emphasize as being one of the defining comparative advantages for Singapore that we must build upon. At the same time, the existing workforce will need to have its skills updated so that the people who are very much important contributors to their respective companies, to their respective industries, they can remain relevant. It's important to their employers. It's equally important to these individuals and the families and their communities that they support. To meet the industry's immediate talent needs, our flagship scheme has been the Tech Skills Accelerator program, which IMDA operates. TESA, as it is known and many of you are familiar with it, has trained more than 12,000 individuals for good tech jobs and another 160,000 in tech skills since 2016, since the program started. I should say that the number I just reported does not yet include all the programs that are being delivered through Skills Future Singapore, as well as WSG, Workforce Singapore. We've added all up, very concerted efforts all around. skillsignitionsg has trained more than 5,200, going above and beyond Google's own talent needs. And this is one of the also important features of our overall approach. Why I say so is because we've always been very cognizant that when you curate programs and ask people to invest of their time, the last thing they want is to have incurred cost, incurred time to learn something that businesses are not interested in. Their prospective employers are not interested in. So crowding in employers, getting them to help us curate the programs and to tell us what is really useful for the market needs, that is an important feature of the way we go about training people in Singapore. We therefore appreciate Google's equipping Singaporeans with practical, job-ready skills and helping the ecosystems of hirers, including startups, as well as SMEs, get the talent that they need to grow their businesses. I took a tour around the career fair. I wasn't able to meet with all of the prospective employers, but they are very diverse. I saw FairPrice Group, I saw Software One, I saw IHIS, and just to give you a sense of why I say many of these employers, they may not strike you as tech companies, but think about the fact that IHIS has a tech team that is about 3,700 strong. Fair Price, which helps the whole of the NTUC enterprises, has a tech team that is not small either. It's about 450 and growing, I believe. Yeah. Many of the companies are here ready to employ Skills Ignition SG graduates. They told me so yesterday when I met them. They continue to reinforce the message today. And thanks to the strong support from the industry, many Singaporeans are able to take part in the growth of our digital economy and take their careers to the next level. You already heard from Ramona, but I also had the privilege. I must say one thing, as minister who had to look after the population portfolio, and also quite deeply involved in the challenges in helping women to get back to work after they have had to take time out. It really is a very inspiring story. You go, girl, Ramona. Ramona is one of many inspiring stories. Another equally inspiring story that I heard was through Jasmina Ali, and she's one of the Skills Ignition graduates. And her journey of transition and growth is no less interesting. She had dreamed about joining Google since she was a student. That's like throw a stone, you'll find people like that, right? Not so difficult, huh? But after working 6 years as a customer service officer, she was courageous enough to take the step of signing up for the Skills Ignition program and embarked on training with the GTech team, or Google's technical services team, in digital marketing, a whole new area for her. The training gave her not only job-relevant skills, but also the confidence to apply for a full-time position at Google. She now works as a platform solutions consultant at Google, applying her experience in customer service, she had that already, and her training at Skills Ignition to help marketing agencies understand and use Google products to further expand their own businesses. And so for job seekers who are participating in the career fair today, I hope Jasmina and Ramona, their stories will provide you with the encouragement to also chart your own paths forward. While undergoing further training and switching to a new career can be daunting. It is sometimes a really frightening prospect. You will certainly have the opportunity to reap rewards in the form of new skills mastered, connections built, and exciting career opportunities that you might not have dreamed of before. So on that note, thank you once again for inviting me. I wish all the trainees, the job seekers, as well as the hiring companies a very useful session today. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. May I ask you to remain on stage for a short photo op? Ben, Country Managing Director of Google Singapore, Mr. Liu, Mr. Tan, could we also invite you onto stage? Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mr. Liu, Mr. Tan and Ben. Please take your seats as we move on to the next segment of the event with a very exciting panel discussion. We now have an interesting lineup of panelists who will be directed questions of Never Have I Ever. I don't know if you've played this game before, but I was told it's quite popular. It's just me then. How this will go is a question will be directed to our panelists who will have to answer using this paddle of like have or never. These questions will also be up for our audience, both here in the room as well as virtually. So please join through the code in front of you on Slido. And may I invite our panelists to join us on stage, please. Please welcome Aaron Tan, Jennifer Ho, Reshma, and my colleague Clifford. Okay, before digging in, maybe a quick round of introductions. Aaron, do you mind kicking us off?
Yep, sure. Thanks for having me this morning. So my name is Aaron, founder and CEO of Karo. So I started this company, in 2016. We are Southeast Asia's largest marketplace for cars. We have more than 5,000 people now across Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Taiwan, and Japan. Right. So I was told to keep it super brief. We're always hiring. Please ask me more questions later. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Ho. I come from IHIS, which is the largest IT agency in healthcare. So today, I lead the talent acquisition function, and today I'm here to hunt each and every one of you.
Very aggressive sales pitches. Reshma.
Hi, my name is Reshma, and I lead the HR team for APAC for Software One. We're a solutions and software organization, always looking for fresh talent like my colleagues over here. So you have lots of options with every one of us.
And Clifford.
Good morning, everyone. Clifford here, not to forget Google. So I lead the talent engagement team in Southeast Asia, as well as Google's APAC internships program. So I was also previously one of the program managers for Skillsignition. So this is a program that's very near and dear to my heart, and I'm really happy to be sharing more of the audience here today.
All right, let's just jump straight into the questions. So the first one you see on your screen, have you ever made a career change? Well, I have, for sure.
I'm the odd one out.
Yeah.
Oh, Reshma.
I've always been in HR, fortunately, or not.
Maybe I can ask Aaron to kick us off with an answer of what you were doing before.
Yeah. So my background is a little bit different. It's not that my results were that good, but I was very fortunate. I got a scholarship from IDA back, I don't remember, this was 2006 or 2006 or something along those lines. Anyway, high level, I came back, and then I got seconded to Singtel. So I started Singtel's fund. And that was my career when I first started off college, right? But I guess the difference here is that, as what they always tell you in school, which is you never really end up doing what you studied. So that was what exactly happened to me. I was a computer scientist by training, right? So, I graduated from CMU, came back, and then I guess I got very lucky, got seconded to Singtel, and Singtel thought that I'll be best fit in the venture fund. So I did, and I did that. I started the fund in 2009, 2010, and then the rest was history, right? So again, my career really didn't start as a computer scientist as I thought. Actually, my first job, interestingly enough, out of college when I applied was Google. I was, in fact, YouTube, to be more exact. Not even joking, it's true. But obviously, I was bonded, so I have to come back to fulfill my obligations. So they say. Anyway, so yeah, that was really what happened for me. So I started really computer scientist, VC as an investor, and then now I'm back in tech, right? So that's how I like to look at it.
That is quite a journey. And I can echo your sentiment that what we study is never what we end up with. I studied economics. I started my job in the Economic Development Board, and it is not about economics. They don't tell me. But fantastic first job. But thank you very much, Aaron. On to our second question. Have you ever hired someone based on what you believe they could do and not a proven track record? It's great. I think it's very optimistic. Perhaps, Reshma, I could put you on the spot and share a little bit about your experience.
Sure. I think when you're hiring someone, what's also important to see besides the skills, I think especially when you're starting off, you're making a career change, and what you bring to the table, what you bring from your attitude perspective, your behavior, competencies perspective, and that sometimes is what makes a bigger difference than the skills. Skills can be learned. It's the behavior and the attitude that actually helps you do better, and that's something that I always look for. So a number of times I have looked at that while hiring, and that's most times been successful. So it's a great thing to carry on with.
That's fantastic. And it looks like our audience share that sentiment as well. 88% have actually done the same as you. That's very good. On to the next question. Have you ever been impressed by a candidate's professional profile? This professional profile here means like LinkedIn or CV. Clifford, you have.
Yes, I
What stood out to you? And you cannot say profile picture, yeah?
Yeah, thanks for the clarification, Amelia. So from my point of view, having spent, I think, almost 4 or 5 years in recruitment, professional profile, I'm going to be talking a bit more from the resume standpoint. One keyword for resumes, I believe, it's about relevancy. So on that piece of paper, don't throw in all your achievements and experiences, but the ones that are extremely relevant to the role that you're applying for, and that's what recruiters really look out for. Now, I want to really encourage the audience to think a bit beyond academics and work experiences, but also show us who you are, like your contributions to the community, your leadership skills. We really want to get to know you, invite you for the interview. So the resume is a platform to be invited to an interview. And of course, through that interview, hopefully that's a platform to your future dream job. Yeah.
Thank you, Clifford. I do think that it's quite, correct me if I'm wrong, I do think it's quite interesting to connect at that level through a CV, right? To know what drives the individual, why you want this job in particular, and why it's a fit. It's kind of like dating in some way, I suppose, like professional dating. Okay, the next question. Have you ever left an interview feeling frustrated?
Oh.
Jennifer, perhaps you could share a little bit on experience.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to come from two approach. One is I'm the interviewer. I do feel frustrated with my candidate don't come prepared for the interview, such as knowing what you're being interviewed for, the role, the company. It can be quite frustrating, to be honest. Another thing is the candidates say that I'm good at doing this, really good. So you ask for example on why you say you're good, they just couldn't walk you through the example. So it can be really frustrating. And I believe that if I feel frustrated, they themselves feel frustrated as well, because they just feel that they didn't score well in the interview. So it's on the other side as well. If you are the interviewee as a candidate, I think that will also make you all feel frustrated as well, meaning that, how would I not be able to score it? So I think the most important thing in the interview is to really come prepared for the interview, know the company well, and really show that genuine passion on why you want to be interviewed for this role. And when you say that you're good at something, sell yourself without overselling, but kind of, say, gee, I'm good, and walk us through your relevant experience.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm getting the theme of this sell yourself business quite strongly today. And that's great, because it does mean that there are a lot of opportunities out there for our candidates and all our learning pathway trainees. Okay, I think that brings us to the last question, and we are at the end of the panel session. Thank you, panelists, for your stories and for your sharing. We have also now come to the end of the event, and it has been a pleasure hosting all of you here and online. I wish you all a good afternoon and hope you have a fruitful time ahead.